Hello and welcome to this video. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed. Today we'll be talking about Bury, and the bad news, the breaking news is Bury have had their league status withdrawn and will no longer be part of the Football League, which is an absolute travesty, and what has happened at the club is an absolute disgrace that this has even been allowed to happen. The EFL have released a statement saying that Bolton have 2 more weeks to sort out theirs, which is a long, but Bury is over. They have lost their membership of the Football League because the deadline passed and there was no successful resolution to the issue. Steve Dale is the man in charge, and there was news coming out that there was 3 bids, but none of those have materialised, and it's too late. It's basically too late. There was talk of CNN Sporting Risk coming in. They had their offer accepted, but CNN Sporting Risk decided not to fulfil that. I am a Hereford fan. I know exactly how this feels. I remember when Hereford had their National League status taken away from them back in 2014. I remember that extremely well, and it was a horrific thing. I prayed that what happened to Hereford, having their league status taken away, going into a lower league, and then ending up in court and being wound up. I hoped and prayed this would never happen to anyone, but I knew it would happen again because the EFL and the FA are just simply not fit for purpose. And every time this happens, season after season after season after season, and there doesn't seem to be any sort of resolution. It's like, oh, we need to look at the fit and proper persons test and the owner directors test, but they never do. And that was a problem. That was a problem 5 years ago when Hereford were in trouble. There was people being like, well, what's the point in the fit and proper person test? It's in a video. I distinctly remember watching a video about Hereford's demise, and there was a bit in there. This lad's like, what is the point of the test? Because it clearly doesn't work. And this is another case where it's failed. Steve Dale should have never been able to buy the club, and a club who are 135 years old or 134 years old, coming to their 135th birthday. It's a travesty, but I'm not surprised. Nobody's surprised by this because of the EFL are just totally inept. This is a long-going problem. So many clubs have had so many problems, and I think this could be something where the EFL might look at themselves and think, we really messed up here, because it's an absolute disgrace that this has been allowed to happen. So they've had I think that CNN Sporting Risk were the only hope. But when the news came that they're not going to pursue buying Bury Football Club, I think the writing was on the wall there. It's so sad, and I feel sympathy beyond belief because I am just so sorry for the Bury fans. I know exactly how this feels. Now, I have a little bit of knowledge about what happens to clubs in this situation. When Hereford went bust, they could apply for leagues, 2 leagues below. So in this case of Bury, they would be able to essentially apply for the National League if they wanted to. I don't think that would happen. I think what will happen is Bury will now go into liquidation and reform, which is very sad. But Hereford had the same thing happen. Chester had the same thing happen. Halifax have had the same thing happen. Nobody as big as Bury has had this happen for a very long time. They get really good crowds. They're in League One. It's never happened, but there's a club. Steve Dale is an absolute waste of time. I heard him on the radio the other day on TalkSport being like, we need people to pledge money. 2.7 million he wanted pledged. Who has 2.7 million hanging around? He is an absolute joke. But he bought the club for £1, and that is, maybe football clubs shouldn't be bought for £1. It's such a big investment. At the end of the day, everyone has £1. A child has £1 they can spend, so a child could buy a football club for £1. It is a joke, But the EFL need to have a hard, long look at themselves and look at what they have done, because this is the fault of the EFL and the FA not stepping in and not helping Bury. I don't believe in any way this is the fault of Manchester United and Manchester City. They should step in. I don't think that should happen. I think that is a bad idea, because when Hereford went bust, I never really thought about it, and literally until the situation with Bury. But I think that every club could overspend and be like, oh, bigger clubs to help us out. I think that's a bad way to go. But there needs to be some sort of system where it can be changed, and we need a better outlet for this, because it's just a disgrace. The EFL have really messed up here. They've lost a club that won the FA Cup. To win the FA Cup is such an amazing honour, and the clubs before them that have gone bust have never really achieved anything like that. There's been so many clubs that are in trouble, and it just goes to show that the EFL are an absolute disgrace, and they are massively responsible for this, because it all could have been stopped when Steve Dale took over the club. They should have been like, at the end of the day, if you look at Bolton, Ken Anderson, he was banned from owning a business, a limited company, for 8 years, and he was still fit and proper to own a football club. There's only 2 cases I know off the top of my head where people have failed the fit and proper persons test, and that was the bloke at Leeds. He was done for fraud, so he was failed, but he appealed and they accepted him, which is scary. And then Tommy Agumbar, who owned Hereford, he failed his fit and proper persons test because he was in jail for robbery, and that was final. So those are the only 2 cases I know. So basically, if you haven't got a criminal record, you can go and buy a football club, which is absolutely nuts. The EFL have come out and said, it's a really bad day. It says here, the darkest day. We've worked tirelessly to stop it, but you should have stopped it before it got to this point. It's an absolute disgrace. I feel so sorry for the Bury fans, and I just want maybe some good to come out of this, and maybe something to happen where they end up working and finding a proper solution to this mess, because there is no point in having the fit and proper person test, because pretty much anyone can get past it and own a football club, and that is wrong, because there are so many different kinds of people. It's not just criminals that shouldn't be allowed a football club, but other people as well, people who have had loads of companies go bust and things like that. Is that okay? Because clearly they're not very good at what they do. There are so many things across the EFL that are wrong at the moment, and I don't think they will take enough blame for what they have done. But Bury have been expelled from the EFL, and I am absolutely gutted for them. We'll have a quick update on Bolton. So the suspension is on notice with withdrawal lifted. So they have, I think I read, 2 weeks to sort themselves out, 14 days. So on the 12th of September is the last day they have to sort themselves out. So they have 2 weeks. They should be able to get that over the line. But if Football Ventures drop out again, and then it could be curtains for Bolton as well, because Bolton have been extremely quiet. I feel so sorry for Bolton, but it's not just Bury and Bury and the fans. It's the people that work there. They've lost their jobs. They won't be able to work there anymore, and they'll probably be owed a lot of money now. The players, the fans, and the staff. It's a disgrace that this has been allowed to happen. And they're just watching them on the TV now. They're they're absolutely gutted. It's a shame. I remember Bury playing Bury. I remember going on my birthday one year in 2008 and watching Hereford versus Bury, and it is just terrible. It's terrible, and Bury have been expelled. Thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy, feel free to smash the like button and subscribe. Of course, if you're new, I will be covering the Bolton situation in more detail as it progresses. Hopefully a buyer is found, but the breaking news is Bury have been expelled from the EFL. Thanks so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed. My name is Mike, and I will see you soon.